Hey everyone, welcome to Jessi's Stories. Today I'm going to be telling some more of my story as requested by at least one viewer to start just describing, well, they asked about my neurodivergence, but those will be for other stories. This is how I escaped the Twin Flame cult, well, known as Twin Flames Universe. And just to verbally say it too, anything I say is just my own personal opinion and experience. It's not to malign any organization or group or religion or anything. This is just me saying my personal opinion. And thanks so much to everyone who's here and made it through the introduction. I appreciate you all. If you like my content, because it is going to be varying content from Pokemon to culty stuff to books to movies to shows to anything, and a lot of behind the scenes look. As you can tell, I have an entire series, which you can go click above for the series. And I hope you enjoy my story. And again, please like, subscribe, leave a comment down below if you made it this far. Say, I'm here and I like your content. I'll know that you made it this far. And yeah, thanks for being here. Let's get into it. So how I escaped Twin Flames universe. There is a little bit in the docuseries I'm in, Escaping Twin Flames on Netflix. I'll leave the link down below to that too. So there's actually a start. So a start to understanding my mindset and where I was in coercive control of being coerced into Jeff and Shalia's belief system and working for them for free and everything else. There had to be a realization moment. Everyone who's in a cult has a realization moment at some point. If they're in there for years and years, it does get a little harder. So if you're in there for 5, 10, 20 years, I personally believe that it's really hard to deprogram while you're inside the cult itself. I had to start deprogramming while I was in Twin Flames universe, but it didn't start. If you check out in the behind the scenes series, Sarah Berman and I talk a little bit about this. I started by her very first article in 2020 when it's about a school that ends up taking advantage of their students. When I was a coach, because I was one, I didn't make it to master ascension coach. I almost did. I left before that happened because I had watched all of life purpose class and almost all of ascension school, except for like maybe 5 of them. But that's not the point. We're going to continue. We were off a little bit every so often, but I'm trying to do my best to be really good at focusing on this story of mine. It will go more in depth in my memoir. Okay, back on track. So I was reading her article and Jeff was explaining that you're insane if you believe the words she's saying. These are lies. They're not true at all. She just wants to gloat and get some clout from not being able to find her own twin flame. He always somehow plays into that. I might not be wording it exactly the way he said it, but his main point was don't believe a word she's saying. She's full of lies. And at that time, there was a part of me saying, well, if these are ex-members, because I knew, and I knew who, at least one ex-member I knew very well. That was part of the article. I knew that if they left, why would they be lying about this experience? If they left, why would this reporter, who has nothing to do with Twin Flames universe, be writing an article about this? And if you want to hear more of Sarah Berman's perspective on this side of things, you can not only check out the docuseries, but you can check out the behind the scenes look of my series. Again, link there. It's on a playlist. Okay, and continuing, here we go. That was my beginning thought process. And then it was, maybe I should reread this because I only got to see the very beginning paragraph. He didn't really let us look further than that. I had to look on my own through Google search to refine the Vice article. And I personally had never heard of Vice until Sarah Berman, who is a Vice staff, I believe. I could be wrong. Until she wrote that article. I had never heard of Vice. Now I know about Vice. And I think Vice is an awesome place to get information because they're full of awesome journalism, just like Sarah Berman. I took it. I had to reread it a lot of times. So the rereading process took a lot just to try to get it through my brain because I couldn't. This also just has to do with me and my neurodivergent way of processing things too. I can't process information as quickly because 100% of the time I'm taking in my entire environment. That's why I do better at home in getting things done because there's less noise sometimes, not always. That's also why walks come in handy too, to regulate myself and calm down. Only certain sounds don't trigger me. But to continue, some of this does have to do with my processing speed period of rereading, but this also had to do with the coercive control of Jeff and Shalia. So it was a combination of both because my processing speed had slowed tremendously. Like my speed is a lot faster than when I was in the cult, which still isn't as fast as like the average person or the neurotypical person or the holistic person. I'm still not as fast as that because I'm taking literally everything in around me, from my environment to the people to everything. There isn't anything I'm not taking in. But I had to take each paragraph and reread it and reread it and reread it. And even for the interview, I reread the article just to consume the information that was being told. And at that time, I took the little specks of details that stuck with me that came from the people, the ex-members that took part in that article, which check out docuseries to find out who took part in that article. They're very awesome people, and shout out to them. I won't say their names. I will just tell you to check out the docuseries itself. I took that information, and the next coaching meeting, I paid close attention to what Jeff and Shalia were saying to us as coaches versus their personal profiles versus what they were saying in the forum. So in the forum, you get the easiest, nicest tone from them, the most loving, fake loving, keep this in mind, love bomb, loving tone from them. They would just flat out go, yeah, we understand. Oh, I went through that too. I'm so sorry. And we love you. You're accepted here and you can keep going. Stuff like that, they would say within the forum. In coaching, you get to hear a little more of their true color shining of you guys are insolent, imbeciles, stupid. Like there was one time, I don't know the exact wording. I wish I had taken screenshots, but I didn't. They had a wording of, yes, sales are down because you're not loving us enough. You aren't loving our community enough, our people. You sad, pathetic. I think losers was in there too. And then they did say the same thing to the forum, but they said it completely differently. They said that sales were up and that they're doing great. And right now, for a low, low price, that's what they always do when things aren't going great. For a low, low price, for this discount for a limited time, they were doing that within the forum. And then on their personal pages, like they were saying, it's great when you can do whatever you want because you have an income that comes while you sleep. They each said that in their own ways on their personal ones. Things were seeming so off, but I gave them second, third, fourth, and fifth chances to just listening. There was other circumstances too in other situations, but that's just one that I came up with on the spot. So that was my aha moment of, oh my gosh, I'm in a cult. This sucks. And then next step was, which I'll go more in depth sometime, probably on here, about me being told I was divine masculine, so a man in a woman's body, was my next step of, oh my God, I don't want to be in this group anymore. I had already felt, even when I was in the group, alienated and not a part of the group. It's a true fact. But I stayed because some part of me felt like I was accepted. So I had two different emotions going on. But during the being told pretty much you're a divine masculine time period, I felt terrible and horrible and sick, like physically sick. I literally puked and cried nonstop. It didn't feel good at all. So that was a huge realization for me. And that is actually when I finally stopped watching Twin Flame Ascension School and Life Purpose class, is when I was told I was a divine masculine. I hadn't fully stopped. I had to give myself like a couple of weeks break when I was reading Sarah Berman's article, but then I fully stopped when I was told I was a divine masculine. It's a really great way. You can even see in Sarah Berman's third article the way it happened, and in the docuseries too, you can see too. And I'll go more in depth to everything in my memoir too, since it's not fully in depth in both of those. And then after that, I researched, because YouTube is a go-to place for me for information, for finding the true information, not the false, because you can definitely find false information on here. I went on and I looked up, I just wrote the term, why do people join cults? And then a TED Ed video, which I didn't know this, by Dr. Lalich, which I do hope in the future she comes on here. I would love to have her. We had originally had plans. She was a part of my journey. I would love to have an interview, probably about Bounded Choice, since I need to read that book, Bounded Choice book, on here. It was her little short TED Ed video explaining why people join cults. It was a really cute short, which I'll also leave the link to that down below and show an image above of that, so you guys know what I'm talking about. It's a really good video and I highly recommend watching it. It's 6 minutes, 6 whole minutes. And for me at that time, that was just the right amount of time. The fact it was a cartoon and simple helped me take in the information within that very moment. And as soon as that information came, this was the next thing, the third thing, I went, oh my God, I'm in a cult. I want out. I had already wanted out, but now I felt so sick knowing I was in a cult. I wanted out. I didn't know how to get out because you get threats, a lot of threats. People don't realize you get threats when you're in a cult. Our threats were bankruptcy, that they would tell every person you ever worked for that you're not a good worker or worth it, and you wouldn't have any family members anymore, which in some cases, those who leave don't, only due to the cult. Just want to highlight that. And then they also, on top of that, said you'd be pretty much choosing hell since they're apparently heaven. Their way is the only way to heaven. That's what they have always claimed when I was in there, personally. And they explained that you would also be pretty much choosing against God. There'd be a lot of hell that you would be going through. You would be living in hell if you left the group. So bankruptcy, and they would sue you, which they do follow through with that threat. I personally got a cease and desist, so they absolutely do follow with that threat. And yeah, just a lot of threatening, blackmailing like things that absolutely scare you and put phobias in you. So I had a lot of that in me. A conversation I had with my mom after I told her I'm a dude in a woman's body, and she did the very, very smart thing of asking if it was me or them. And I had to think about it and actually think critically and answer honestly and say it was them. But after that moment, she remembers me always saying, crying and saying this, that I was afraid I was going to be choosing hell. I didn't know how to get out of the cult from here. I just knew I had to get out. I couldn't think fully critically. There was a little spark, to be fair, of critical thinking, but not to the point that most people have. I couldn't fully think critically for myself. So I went over and my mom and I continued our conversation. This was, I think, a 4 to 5, maybe even 6-hour conversation. I have no idea. I just know the next morning I followed through with what my mom said, because she asked me, what are you going to do? How are you going to leave? I said, I honestly don't know. I'm afraid to leave. And then she said, why don't you just block them? That was a smart idea. I hadn't thought of that. That was not even the first thought that ever went across my mind, because when you are so coerced, I know a controversial term, but I'll use it, brainwashed, you don't have that critical thought. You don't understand anyone, honestly, outside the cult. It's hard to relate to anyone outside that because you've been so trained to rely only on the cult. A simple task of blocking them seems huge and like you're going to die. That's what it felt like to me. So I started blocking them the next morning. Started with Jeff, then Shalia, and then I blocked all the higher ups like Keely and a couple others. I just kept on blocking. Felt horrible. Like I took a couple seconds just to see their picture on Facebook before I blocked them. I made sure to block them over on Instagram. And Twitter was the scariest one because I had those that had not been following me suddenly follow me out of nowhere, which I knew exactly what they were doing. It was a scare tactic, and it was also them wanting to track me because I had just left, which I know they tracked me after I left a couple months later because of the cease and desist. They do, in fact, track you. It is a fact. But since then, a lot of great things have happened to me. Like I won my first award for my poetry book. I actually won 2, but I only chose to put and post 1 on there. I almost won a LGBTQIA award for Super Gay. Almost did. I came so close. I was at least got to the point of the competition of judges reading, like over 20 people reading it, which was a blessing in itself. I've chosen to start embracing my writing / YouTube career because that's what I'm passionate about, is writing and YouTube and starting my business. So a lot of good has come out of this. This is for any viewers that are within the cults or other cults or just wanting to learn stuff about cults. Good stuff does happen. It doesn't feel like it right away. Like I am transitioning, as I've announced on my little community page. If you want to check out there, I do make announcements, and I'll start making more personal stuff on there too, and here. And I absolutely take your word and advice of things you want me to do on here. So please also post that in the comments if there's anything else you'd like to see too. I'll do that. My neurodivergence, journey is happening behind the scenes, so I can't exactly be announcing any of it yet, but I promise you I will when there's more information. It's a process, and plus I'm a part of a project that has a little bit to do with it, and I want to give more to that for now, and some of my other projects going on behind the scenes. So if you want to support the channel, please subscribe, because I know 90% of you are not subscribed but watching. If you like this content, know it's varying and educational and fun. It's stories, and stories are everywhere. Books, movies, shows, Pokemon, a lot. And thank you so much for listening to my story. Let me know what else you'd like to see. I have some ideas that I will be doing in the future. I'm going to be doing some more talks like this too, and just telling some more of my story as requested. Thanks so much for being here. Embrace your truth. Tell your story. Love you guys. Peace.